Hi, it's Terry Vanover with Choosing to Rise. So it's been a long week, but I'm here and I apologize for the delay. It's been a really long week and I still have a lot left to do. So I want to welcome you to our video today. It's about alternatives to traditional divorce, and we're going to talk about what are the alternatives to traditional divorce? What does that mean? And is it right for you? Or is it something that you should consider? So I'm Terry Vanover, and I'm with Choosing to Rise, and I help women create amazing lives following divorce. I help you feel empowered through the divorce process, not so overwhelmed. I help you get back get back who you are and feel like you're making clear decisions and you're coming from a place of strength and focus rather than fear and desperation and overwhelm. So I'm here tonight and we're going to talk about alternatives to traditional divorce. And I'm a divorce coach. And do you need a divorce coach? Yes, you do. You need to know about your options during divorce. You need to get help so that you're coming from a place of higher consciousness rather than from fear and desperation. It's important that you have someone who has access to resources that can help you expand your thinking. One thing about the brain is that the brain shrinks during these stressful times and it doesn't work as effectively as when we're not stressed. So a divorce coach can help you with those stress strategies and help you come from a better place and make better decisions and look at your long-term goals. I help you overcome the overwhelm, feel empowered, and I help you develop clear and compelling goals as you transition confidently into that next phase of your life. So I am available for one-on-one coaching if you need some additional support, you're ready for a change, you're ready to tackle this issue with empowerment. Reach out to me at terryvanover@comcast.net or choosingtorise.com for a free ebook, 7 Tips for Surviving Divorce. So we're talking tonight. So let's talk about, what do I mean by traditional divorce? Traditional divorce is when one spouse hires a lawyer, another spouse hires a lawyer, and it's litigated through the courts. And then the judge makes the final decision, and that's called a judgment, and then it's finalized and moved on that way. That's traditional divorce. It is expensive. Anytime you go to court, anytime you're going to court, it costs a lot of money. You'll see your attorney's fees go up when he or she has to appear in court. Those fees go up. So the more you can negotiate out of court, the better it's going to be. And I have a tip for you. At the end, I have a really great worksheet to help you negotiate the process, you and your ex. If you want to know where you are and how to ground yourself, I have a really great sheet for you to help you think about that, and you can give it to your attorney and it can help you, it can help your attorney. So yes, traditional divorce is when it's the traditional process. One of you hires a lawyer, the other one hires a lawyer, you go back and forth, shuffle back, then you go in front of an attorney, okay, you get the parenting agreement done, then you go back and forth, this is the property and this is assets, and then you go back and forth. So that's kind of and then we call that a litigated divorce. That's when it goes through the court system. It's processed that way. So another alternative to divorce is doing it yourself. I would say that can be tricky. I personally feel like divorce is very complicated. It's a very complex process. If I were going through my divorce, I would call it the don't do it yourself divorce. And as much as I know, I would want to have a legal professional on my side as well as other professionals, financial professionals as well. It's very complicated, so it's easy to make mistakes. And once those mistakes are, if the judge finalizes it, if it goes through the court system, it's finalized. It's very difficult to correct those mistakes. So unless you have a very, very short marriage and there are no children, there's very little assets, there are times when you don't have to have an attorney. If you both agree on the terms and you want to file the paperwork yourselves, you can do that. But it might even be a good idea to even have an attorney just look over the documents before you file it. Just, you know, spend that couple $100 to have someone just look over it, see if you've missed something or if there's something glaring that maybe just a good idea. I don't know. It can save you a lot of money for sure, but you have to think, what's the long-term cost if you make a huge mistake and you have to go back and fix it and you have to hire an attorney, and it's much more expensive if you have to go back and fix something versus doing it right the first time. If you do decide to do it yourself, I would, you know, think about maybe even getting at least someone to look over the document, an attorney to look over it, make sure you didn't miss anything glaring. There's something called, and I do have some paperwork in front of me because it's complicated. It's complicated. So what about mediation? So a divorce mediation is with a neutral mediator. So both parties would come to an agreement on all aspects of a divorce, and a mediator would have no stake in the game. And oftentimes mediators are lawyers, not always. It may or may not be a lawyer, but a lot of times and what I've seen, most of the lawyers that I know are also mediators. So they're not an advocate for either party. So they can't give advice one way or the other. So both parties would need to come to an agreement and you mediate that. Now on the pro side, here's whether mediation might work for you. If you can agree not to fight it out in court, mediation might be a good way to do that. It's easier on the children. It's shorter. You're not going to court. It is faster. It reduces expenses, obviously, and it helps you stay in control of the decision so that, again, you're not giving it to the court. You don't want a judge to make decisions about your family. You and your spouse want to make those decisions if you can, if possible. However, if it doesn't work, then you have wasted the time and money that you put into mediation. If you can't come to an agreement, you and your spouse, if you can't come to an agreement, you have to start it all over. So you have to make sure also that the mediator is also going to be unbiased and fair. Remember, they can't be on one side or the other, and they can't sway one way or the other. So make sure that the mediator is fair. If you're not feeling comfortable with that, you might need to rethink about something else. If you have a spouse that you feel like might be hiding assets, mediation might not be the right place for you either, because you have to you both have to disclose all of your assets. So there's that kind of integrity and honesty. And so if you're feeling that something's being hidden or something's not right. Another time that mediation isn't appropriate is when one spouse is abused and the other one isn't. That's not inappropriate, because oftentimes that person will use their power over the other spouse, and so that's not a good time to use mediation when there's an imbalance of power in the couple. So think about if a mediation is right for you. There's nothing wrong with checking that out and seeing if you and your partner can come to an agreement on things. The more you can settle out of court, the more you can settle out of attorneys, the more you can settle together, the better. So I have a worksheet, and if you want to reach out to me at terryvanover@comcast.net, I'll send it to you. It's called a conditions worksheet. And I've even given it to attorneys to use with their clients. It's beautiful. It can be used in so many facets of our lives, but in divorce it's great because it helps you delineate what are your priorities, what's your negotiables, what are your nah, ain't gonna happen, and then some things where you're willing to give up that you don't even, that's okay. I'm willing to give that up completely. So that's a great worksheet to kind of help you think about where your priorities are, what would be nice to have, and what you really don't care about that you're willing just to give away to your ex. So that's something if you're looking for to kind of help you visually map out your assets, your parenting time, those kind of things. Let's talk about another alternative to divorce. It's pretty common, I think, in California, relatively new to Illinois, but it's called a collaborative divorce. Now, collaborative divorces are quite different than a traditional divorce because it absolutely stays out of the court system. And how a collaborative divorce works, first you have to have certified collaborative attorneys. So they have to be certified in a specific process. Not everybody's a collaborative divorce. So if this is a route that you want to take, it's okay to reach out to someone who has a collaborative divorce in their title and attorney, but they have to be specialized in this. It's not everyone can do it. So both you and your husband hire an attorney who is trained in this process, but what makes the collaborative process very unique is that you collaborate and you work with other divorce professionals. You might work with a divorce coach, financial planner, real estate attorney or real estate broker. There's all these other divorce professionals in the process too, and they help you kind of come to an agreement, look at your assets, what you're willing to negotiate on and what you're not. Now, here's the thing though, you must sign an agreement that you won't go into litigation, because if you do, then all bets are off, and again, you have to start all over again in a traditional divorce. So you stay out of the courts until the very, very end, until you've come to an agreement on everything and the judge signs off and you're done. So who is this collaborative method is for? It's just like a mediation in a way that, both people have to be willing to disclose all their assets, disclose what they have, be willing to compromise their income. They have to disclose their income, their liabilities, debt, all that stuff. So everybody has to disclose all that and be honest with that information, and also be willing to compromise. You have to have a compromise. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you have to be willing to negotiate. So that's a collaborative divorce. So that's someone you'd have to talk to, a very specialized, trained attorney in order to do that kind of divorce. And you do it together with your spouse and all the financial, real estate, it's a big team that kind of goes into that. So it's very unique in that. So again, it stays out of the court. So it can be less expensive. It can be, unless it fails and you have to start all over again. So those are things you have to think about. So if you think that your spouse is hiding assets and hiding income, has a business and they're hiding things, then collaborative process may not work for you. If you have an imbalance of power, just like mediation, if you have an imbalance of power and one spouse might dominate on the other spouse, might kind of take over the proceedings, because these are processes where there has to be some negotiating going on. So that might be a time where collaborative divorce. And again, you need healthy, functional adults that are willing to compromise and willing to come to an agreement. If there's some kind of domestic violence background, those kind of things usually doesn't work in the collaborative process, so they think that. So again, most people do the traditional litigated divorce where one person gets an attorney, another person gets an attorney, and I know we say litigated because it is literally putting a lawsuit out there. It involves a lawsuit, but remember that even in a traditional divorce, you can come to terms, you can work collaborative, you can negotiate together. The two attorneys can continue to negotiate and keep it out of the courts. If you can keep it out of the courts at all possible, that's going to help. And if you're willing to negotiate, remember, think about using that condition sheet that I can send you. Think about what you're willing to give up to your partner and how that partner can give up some things for you that you find meaningful and important. If you're struggling with this, get someone like me, get a divorce coach to help you flesh out what really are the priorities. Because I don't want you to make the same mistake I did, in which I held on to a house that I had no business holding on to, I couldn't afford, it was underwater, literally and figuratively, and it wasn't even where I wanted to live, but yet I had that emotional attachment. So you know, maybe you think that you want to have a house, and then when it comes down to it, if you really dig down deep, you're like, huh, maybe I can let that house go. Because and I also would implore you to look into getting other divorce professionals to help you through the process. That was the worst mistake in my divorce. I never sought out any professional advice from anybody, because there might be alternatives. If you want to keep your house, you need to get advice from divorce professionals. If 2 years down the road, I've had people come to me 2 years down the road and wanting to change the divorce agreement. Oh, well, now the house isn't worth what it was 2 years ago. Well, that's what you agreed to. So you have to think long term. So in the short term, yeah, getting the house was a good deal. I got, more money. But then what if property taxes go up or values of houses go down? You need to think about all those things long term, and whether keeping your house is really a priority, or if you can move into something smaller for you and your children, if that's a better option, which ended up being the better option for me. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And if you are struggling and there's something and you're feeling overwhelmed and you're not sure what to do, reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk about it and give you a free consultation and see how I can help you through your divorce. So I'm Terry Vanover. Go to choosingtorise.com for your free ebook, 7 tips for surviving divorce and overcoming your divorce and everything else. So, all right, thanks everybody. It was great talking with you. I will chat with you soon. Thanks.